Hello folks, and welcome to the largest event of the 2020 modding calendar, the Cooler Master World Series 11th edition. Now, if you haven't heard of the Cooler Master World Series before, let me fill you in on a few little details. So since 2009, Cooler Master has been running their annual modding competition, with the idea of bringing together the community from across the globe, newcomer and professional alike, under the spirit of craftsmanship and creativity. Not only that, but participants have the chance to win some pretty life-changing prizes, as well as, of course, eternal glory. Speaking of prizes, Cooler Master are going to be offering a total prize pool of over $24,000 this year, of which $16,000 are going to be in cash prizes and a further $8,000 in products. Now that's pretty sizable, but not only that, but every participant is going to have the chance to be assessed to be part of their CModX team. Now more on that later. For now though, let's take a look through the categories because they've made some really interesting changes and see where you might be able to slot in with your own project. One thing I've always liked about the World Series is that each year it changes quite substantially based on the feedback from the previous events. So over time, it's really evolved into a thoroughly different beast to how it began. Now this year is no different in that regard, as Cooler Master has teamed up with Nvidia, MSI, Patriot, G.Skill and Control Ultimate Edition to bring a total of 12 separate award categories, some of which are brand new to the competition and add an extra spice and different level of complexity to some parts that we've not really had before. So let's take a look through them now. The core of the competition will be formed around the two traditional categories, namely the best tower mod and the best scratch build, each of which has a grand prize of $4,000 in cash. Now, in addition to that, there are 3 further prizes which will be handed out for aesthetics, craftsmanship, and innovation and design. Now, these ones won't be going to the 2 winners, so these are in addition and will be decided by the judging panel. Now, each one of those is a further $2,000 in cash, so not bad. Now, if you want to submit a tower mod, bear in mind it does have to be in a Cooler Master chassis, but aside from that, almost anything goes. Now I say almost because you also want to try and maintain some of the identity of the original chassis. Basically, don't just destroy it and turn it completely into a scratch build with the basis of it and say, oh look, that's a case mod. It's not really going to work in your favor and you will have it judged against you. If, however, you want to go absolutely nuts, I think the scratch build category is where you want to be. And all you have to do for that one is have a prominent Cooler Master product visible. That does mean no simply using Cooler Master thermal paste to get around the rules. You do have to use a proper product, be it fans, power supplies, coolers, etc. In addition to the main categories, there will also be 4 bonus awards being handed out, namely for the small form factor category of Small and Mighty being presented by MSI, the Aesthetics and Performance Award being presented by Nvidia, the Best Game-Themed Mod being presented by Control Ultimate Edition, and the Cooling and Overclocking Award being presented by G.Skill. To be eligible for the awards, you just need to fulfill some fairly simple criteria. So for small form factor, you need to have a total build volume of under 20 litres. For the Nvidia award, you will need to submit a link that verifies your performance using PC Mark TimeSpy. And then for the G.Skill award, you want to submit a link showing your CPU and memory clock speeds using CPU-Z and hardware monitor. The final 3 prizes are for a category that's brand new to the Cooler Master World Series, which is gaming gear, i.e. peripheral modding. So modding your keyboard, mouse, headset, what have you. Now this is quite interesting because previously it's largely focused on just the rigs itself. Last year had monitor modding, but that was about it. But of course, your peripherals are an integral part of your PC experience, and actually peripheral modding has really grown of late and it's quite an interesting area. So to explore this, Cooler Master has added an additional 3 categories, namely the Best Overall Theme, which I think is fairly self-explanatory, the Gamers Approved Award, which will be handled via a community vote, and the Best Enhancement Award, so modding your peripheral to do something a little bit differently that maybe improves its functionality. Additionally, each one of these prizes will have a $500 gift card as the reward. Of course, it does go without saying, to take part in the peripherals category, you are going to have to mod a Cooler Master peripheral, so no competitors please. Now I mentioned CMod X Team Assessment earlier as one of the potential prizes as well for participating, and this is really quite an interesting initiative. So if you've never heard of it, CMod X is Cooler Master's initiative to work with the community and individual modders in particular to be able to bring some of their products and mods to market, be it an individual case mod or something smaller that maybe multiple people might be interested in and they don't have the capability to market fully on their own. Now it's a really interesting idea to be able to work with the community at such a low and in-depth level, so I think it's a really exciting opportunity for lots of people around the world to get involved in an area that maybe wouldn't be working for them just around where they live. So being able to appeal to the whole wider world, yeah, I think that's pretty exciting. Now for more details, you'll want to visit the link below for that, because there are some specifics you have to be aware of, but it's a really exciting thing to see happen, and I'm really interested to see where Cooler Master will take it. Now you may have been wondering, hold on Alex, you've been shuffling this hardware conspicuously around the whole video. What's going on over there? Well, to coincide with the inclusion of the small form factor build category in the competition, I'm going to be doing a small form factor mod of my own using the new Nr200p Chassis and the V850 Gold SFX power supply. Now this is quite exciting for me because actually I don't get to do a whole lot of small form factor builds, because most of the things that I get sent are ATX or XL ATX or even bigger. In fact, most of them is massive that I have to work with. So shrinking it all down and working with something much smaller and more compact, yeah, that's quite interesting for me. So I've got some ideas going. I'm not going to be starting this for a few weeks, but I'm going to try and coincide it with the timing of the event itself, and I think that should make it quite fun. So why don't we go through some of the hardware and I can explain some of my ideas that I've got floating around and where I might want to try and take it. So kicking off with the meat of the operation, we've got the Nr200p Chassis. So this is the one that comes with the tempered glass panel, which conveniently enough sits on rails, which is a feature I quite like. I hate thumbscrew glass because they have a habit of sort of breaking and being a bit fiddly to install. So just being able to sort of slide this one in like so and slot it, that's quite nice. And additionally, it doesn't come with that fitted into the chassis. In fact, it's actually inside the box and you get a separate panel, complete with a dust filter and all that, which is again pretty good, because obviously when you've got a lot of hardware, especially higher end sort of heat pushing hardware in a small box like this, airflow is quite important. You need to have options. So being able to put a radiator on the front and just exhaust out of the side, yeah, that's quite good. Whether I'm going to use that, probably not, but it's a nice thing to have in principle. So far, the fit and finish feels really quite nice, but we'll get to explore that when we rip it apart later on, of course. One thing that I've been thinking about maybe trying to do with this is make the most of this sort of wrapped front to it. So this is quite a sleek look. And I was thinking maybe instead of sticking to these materials, I might try to use something else like wood. I was thinking maybe it'd be nice to veneer it. I'm torn between the idea of using water cooling or air cooling, because obviously I do a lot of water cooling, and this chassis would easily handle quite a bit of water cooling because you've got 240mm mounts on the top, you've got the sides, you've got the bottom, so you've got places everywhere for something like that to work very well in here, and it's just about big enough that you could do something a little bit creative with it. But also, I don't tend to work with air cooling a lot, so it could be interesting to explore that route and try and take it in a slightly different direction. So I'm thinking maybe if we had some wrapped wood along the outside here, and then instead of having the glass panel here, actually have it sort of open and leading to the components on the inside with the big air cooler over here, and everything sort of matched up in a strong sort of thematic way. Now to that extent, I'd quite like, for instance, to maybe make some covers for the motherboard here. So we've got the MSI B550 Gaming Edge Wi-Fi, and then we've also got an MSI Radeon RX 5700. So maybe I could try theming these to go with the wood. I do a lot of silver, of course. I really like that, and it does work incredibly well. But then, you know, but maybe I could try some different materials as well. I could even make covers out of, say, acrylic or different other materials and sort of work it around to have a cohesive look throughout. Now, in terms of the actual components, obviously we've got a V850 Gold SFX power supply, which I've got to wait for a power supply this size. That's a huge wattage, so that's going to be very interesting. And I guess in theory, it would mean that you could even put a 3090 in here, but if you can find one that will actually fit in the chassis, since we've all found out that they're about the size of my forearm now. In addition, we've got some Patriot RGB memory, and we've also got a 512GB NVMe SSD, which should keep things nice and minimal. In terms of the theming, I'd like to try and work with materials. I will use the RGB that comes with the parts, but I tend to try and use it to theme things to match rather than go sort of the whole unicorn vomit idea. It's not really my thing, but the opportunities that it presents could be pretty cool to match everything up, especially in something as small as this. Well, that's all from me for today, folks. I now need to crack on with this little case mod, but in the meantime, if you need any of the information mentioned in the video, there are links in the description for specifics such as the entry requirements, key dates, and CModX team entry. Take care, mod on, and good luck.